guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm going to talk about 4 simple steps that we took to start paying off our debt this year. In 2020, my husband and I really started to tackle our debt and we've made a lot of progress, and these are the steps we followed, so I thought I would share them with you today. Now when I say 4 simple steps, they are simple in that they're not complicated, but they are not necessarily easy. Like, simple is not the same thing as easy, and for us, it took a lot of hard work and discipline to follow these steps, even though they were simple and straightforward. So let's jump right into it. The first step that we took this year to start paying down our debt is to stop taking on new debt. Now, this may seem really obvious, but this is something we struggled with for years. And like, I graduated from school, had student loans, had some credit card debt. We paid some of it down, but then we bought a new car, and then we bought a second new car. And then my husband went back to school, and then, you know, we took on more student loans. And then as soon as he graduated from school, we bought a house, and then we accumulated some credit card debt over the past few years. So it's been like an up and down thing for us over the years, but every time we made some progress, the debt just went right back up, and that was because of choices that we made. We decided, hey, I want this thing more than I want the debt to be paid down. And then finally this year we got to a point where we were like, no, this is not how we want to live anymore, and we need to stop taking on debt. So we stopped using our credit cards completely. We didn't buy anything new that we couldn't pay for with cash, and that was it. We just made the decision not to take on new debt. But you know, if you're making payments on debt, but then you're using your credit card and not paying it off every month, then you're just gonna end up, you know, at the end of the month being in a no better position than you were, and you're gonna feel frustrated, which is gonna discourage you from trying to do this at all. Like I said, it seems really simple and straightforward, but the first thing you need to do is stop taking on new debt so the payments that you're making on your debt are actually making you progress. The next simple step to start paying off your debts is to make sure that your income is higher than your expenses. Now, again, this may seem really obvious, but if you're not looking at how much money you're bringing in and how much you're paying out in bills every month and keeping track of that and know where you're at, then you're not really going to be able to form a plan to attack your debt. And if you look at your finances and the amount of income you have coming in every month is less than the amount of expenses that you have every month, then you are basically losing money every month, which is why you're taking on more debt. So the first and second step kind of go hand in hand. And if you are cash flow negative, meaning you have less money coming in than you're spending each month, then something needs to change in order for you to make any progress on paying on debt. Now, there's 2 simple ways to fix this if you are cash flow negative, and that is either spend less money each month or make more income. Again, very simple, very obvious, but very hard to put into practice if this is not something you're used to doing. There's a ton of ways that you can increase your income and a ton of ways that you can decrease your expenses, but everybody's budget is different, and you know what their needs and wants are different, so you gotta look at it and make sure that at least the amount of income coming in every month is more than your expenses, so you can take that extra and start throwing it at your debt. The third simple step that we used this year to start paying off our debt is to start small. Now, we looked at our total debt at the end of 2019, and we just could barely believe it. It was just so overwhelming. But instead of looking at that whole number, we created a plan to attack our debts in a certain order and take it 1 month at a time and 1 step at a time. And surprisingly, the longer you do it, the faster it goes and the more progress you can make, because the more you get your debts paid off, that payment that you owed to that creditor doesn't have to be paid anymore, and you can use that payment towards a different debt that you owe and pay a bigger payment. And as you pay each of your debts off, you can keep rolling that over. A lot of people refer to that as the debt snowball or debt snowball method. But yeah, it goes faster. And so just because it starts slow at the beginning, like, doesn't mean that it's going to take that long and move that slowly the whole time that you're working on paying off debt. So start small, focus on what you can achieve in that month or even in that week in terms of debt payoff, and don't get discouraged. And the 4th simple step to start paying off your debt is just know and believe that it will start to feel better to make debt payments than it does to spend money. This was a really, really hard one for me to adjust to. I used to think I got a lot of happiness out of spending money, and that's a big reason why I did it and why we had some of our debts. And as I worked on paying off debt, I realized I got that same like jolt of energy, that same like boost of happiness from making a debt payment as I used to from shopping at Target. And this was a really interesting shift for me because I thought debt payoff was gonna be this horrible, long, drawn out process where I felt deprived the whole time, where I couldn't enjoy anything because I just felt like I was in a jail of my debt and all of my money had to go towards debt payments. And don't get me wrong, some days it does feel like that, but a lot of days it feels freeing. Every payment I make gives me a boost of happiness, helps me know that I'm that much closer to our goal of being debt-free, and really becomes addicting in the same way that spending money was addicting for me. I think paying off debt is just as much of a mind game as it is a numbers game. So you gotta do the numbers, but you also have to have your mind in the right place to believe you can do it and stay focused and enjoy the process so you don't just feel miserable the whole time. So those are the 4 steps that we took this year to start paying down our debts. Now I wanna mention a bonus step, number 5. If you've done all of these things, if you're comfortable with it, if you've been in it for a few months, if you're succeeding and you're focused, then this step can really help accelerate how fast you pay off your debts, and that is by trying to lower your interest rates. Now, if you are brand new to this and you haven't started paying down your debts, this can be dangerous to do before you are disciplined, because it can create a situation where you feel like you have more wiggle room and so you end up taking on more debt. So that's step number 1 of being completely committed to not taking on new debt is really important. But if you're there, if you're committed to not taking on new debt, then lowering your interest rates on your debts can help you pay them off much faster. Now there's a few ways to do this depending on what type of debt you have. If you have student loan debt and you're in the US right now, if it's federal loans, there is no interest. So, you know, I'm not giving financial advice, but just take that into account if you're thinking about refinancing any loans. Make sure you know what the interest rates are first and make sure they're not 0, in which case you may not, you know, benefit from refinancing. But if you have high interest rates, you know, private student loans, credit card debt with a 20% interest rate, a car loan, anything like that where you've got an interest rate that's maybe, you know, 5, 10, 15, 25% interest, there are options to refinance your debt or do balance transfers and things like that to lower your interest rate. One thing that we did is we consolidated all of our credit card debt into one private loan that had a lower interest rate. The interest rate was about half of what we were paying on our credit cards, and we did it through SoFi. I'm not gonna go into all the details because I talked about it in another video, which I'll link up here, but we consolidated all of our credit card debt, we lowered that interest rate, and that has helped us pay off our credit card debt much faster. Again, now our credit cards have a 0 balance and we're committed to not using them, but if you think you're at risk of charging those back up, that might not be a good option for you. But just in general, like, this process takes discipline, so you're gonna have to be committed to not increasing those debts. So if you're there, like I said, it's a really good option to pay your debts off faster, make more progress, keep you more motivated if you can lower your interest rates. We also refinanced our student loans through SoFi, but again, if you have federal student loans that have no interest, then you're not gonna necessarily save interest right now, but maybe something to think about in the future. And that is it, guys. Those are the simple steps that we've taken this year to make significant progress on our debt payoff. If you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you are watching this video because you are starting your debt payoff journey, then comment below and let me know. It's always nice to know there's other people out there who are working on the same thing that we are. It helps you feel not alone, keeps you motivated, and I love talking to you guys about where you are at. If you want to follow along with our debt payoff journey, I have been posting videos every Monday talking about our debt payoff strategies, where we're at, debt payoff updates and stuff like that. So hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along and see how our progress goes going forward. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye.